All right. Welcome, everyone. Good evening, or whenever you are watching this, because some of you guys will be live. Some of you, this will be the replay. So, welcome in. We got a fun and exciting topic today: how to make the leap from employee to entrepreneur. This was something that was a dream of mine for so many years. Oh, man, so many failures before I made that happen. So, I'm excited to dive into this topic tonight, this evening, because it's like no other. I will tell you that. It is like no other, the journey of being an entrepreneur, if that's something that's in your heart. So, as we're tuning in, let me know where you're tuning in from. Drop me a comment and let me know what city and state. And then if you're watching the replay, let me drop a comment. Let me know that you're watching the replay and what city and state you're from. But I have a couple of things that I'm going to share my screen and we are going to go into. I know it's going to take people a couple of minutes before they start getting on to the live. Looks like people are starting to come on now. So welcome, guys. We're gonna dive deep into this topic tonight: how to make the leap from employee to entrepreneur. So again, let me know what city and state you're tuning in from. So I'm curious. I'm curious how many of you I'm wondering where you are in your desire to be an entrepreneur. So let's see. Let me know if you're wanting to start your own business from scratch. Are you wanting to buy a business? You're wanting to buy a franchise? Like what kind of opportunities are you looking at right now? Now, let me go ahead and share my screen in a second. I'm gonna toggle back and forth between a couple of different things here. So this used to be me. And so imagine yourself like right now, you may be working in a welcome Dark Tales from Texas. You may be in a job or just doing work that you either don't like or you're just unhappy or you just wanted to be like you're not necessarily that unhappy. You just wanted to be an entrepreneur for a long time and you've always wanted to be a business owner. That was kind of my thing. But at the age of 18 years old, I got into banking and welcome Kyle from Alabama. Fairhope, nice. But at the age of 18, I got into banking, and I'm gonna tell you a quick part of my story so that because it's gonna set the framework for you guys and what we're gonna share tonight. So just bear with me for just a couple minutes while I kind of use my story to set the framework for what we're gonna dive into on how then you can make the leap from employee to entrepreneur. And as we're going through this, let me know like what's frustrating you or what would you like to know about going from employee to entrepreneur? Like what are the things that you're struggling to figure out yourself? Because I know there was a lot that I was struggling to figure out. But anyways, that was me. I got my investment licenses when I was 19 years old. That whole time though, I wanted to be an entrepreneur. There was a bunch of tricky stuff. I had my investment licenses and I really couldn't do other businesses outside because of the investment licenses that I had. But I'm super type A and I like to win. I go hard at everything that I do. I always found myself, I thought I was a great employee. I always did more than I got paid for. And so I won some awards and stuff. That was back when you see that picture in the top left-hand corner. That was when I still had an amazing hairline. And you see how much this is receding now. But I think I was 20 years old at the time, which is really crazy. That was 20-year-old Tarek. Um, and then that picture there, I got named as like a top financial advisor under the age of 30 years old. And it was cool and it was awesome. And I loved excelling in what I did. But in the bottom of my heart, I just knew no matter what I achieved there, I would not feel complete or whole or fulfilled unless I could become an entrepreneur. So that led me on a journey. Maybe some of you guys can relate. Let me know if you can relate to that in the chat, by the way. I'm curious. And then so we own multiple franchises and I was featured in a whole magazine about my ability to build teams and because I was running um One of my franchises 2,500 miles away. So that was pretty cool. And so, like, what happened before that? Well, before that, I had 9 failed businesses from the ages of 18 to 27 while I was doing the whole financial advising and banking thing. I tried to do internet affiliate marketing, Amway, prepaid legal, Primerica landscaping business, all this stuff, right? That's a picture of when I had the clothing line, thousands of dollars of t-shirts, right? So you're part of this is you're going to get to learn from my mistakes today because I spent and lost tens of thousands of dollars. Maybe not tens of thousands, but maybe somewhere between 10 and 20 over those years trying to make the leap to entrepreneurship. And I've learned some things where I don't think it has to be that hard for you. But here's what happened in my mind. And for those of you, Christian said, I drive my wife crazy about how much I talk about wanting to start my own business. Yeah, I can relate, and after I had started so many of those businesses, I mean, I was married for part of it. Like my wife was like, "Why do you just keep jumping from one thing to the next?" The whole time my wife had been a successful entrepreneur. She built a pretty successful business herself outside of franchising. And so I'm watching her, the freedoms that she had, the money that she was making, and just her doing her thing. And I thought, man, I really want that. And yeah, network marketing is definitely a thing that to cut your teeth in for sure. But here's what happened in my mind after starting all these businesses was that, I started thinking, maybe I'm just not meant to be an entrepreneur. Like I just don't have what it takes. Because think about it, literally from the age of 18 to 27 years old, 9 years, I kept trying different shit. I just kept trying, starting, stopping, getting frustrated, getting discouraged. So at some point, after doing it so many times and seeing all these other people start businesses and winning, and I don't know, maybe you can relate to this, you guys, like whether you've started a business. How many of you have started a business before, by the way? I'm just curious. Let me know in the chat if you've started some sort of side hustle or something before. And so I just started to think like maybe I just don't have what it takes. Like maybe I'm not wired to be an entrepreneur. And maybe if you've had some failed businesses, you thought something similarly. Again, we're going to talk about that in just a couple minutes and how you can, really solve that and get past that hurdle, hurdle. What the hell kind of word is that? um, then I started thinking, well, I just don't know how to build a business. I don't have any business experience. I never graduated from college. I kinda knew that to be untrue though, because I saw people winning in business who also didn't graduate from college, but I started to get discouraged, then I started to get trigger shy, which because I was like, "I don't wanna keep putting my money into businesses just to see them go down in flames," right? It's like at some point, when you keep banging the same part of your knee, you ever had a or maybe you bit your lip before, right? Or and at some point, you start accidentally biting your lip in the same place. And after, like, the first time, it's like, "Crap, that hurt." Second time, it's like, "Damn it." After, like, the 4th time, you're, like, really conscious and aware and terrified to do it again, and it really hurts. So that's what was happening to me. And then I started looking at different jobs. Like, "All right, maybe I'll do something different because although I'm making great money as a financial advisor, but I can't start businesses like, I couldn't do certain things. I wanted to make a YouTube channel the whole time. I couldn't do it because of the licenses that I had. I had to get all businesses approved through my compliance. It was a pain in the butt, and I had to be at the office, like, from 8:30 to 5. Like, there was that I had to be there, and so that was frustrating. I had to commute too. That was annoying, especially in California, 45 minutes to an hour each way. And I started thinking, like, could I even actually replace my income, let alone actually like crush it as an entrepreneur, right? But again, it was my dream to be an entrepreneur. Maybe you guys too. So my aha moment was really when my buddy there in the background, he built a $12 million a year company. At the time, he was doing $5 million a year. And all respect to him, he's a brilliant entrepreneur, but I thought he's no smarter than me, right? Like he's sharp dude and he's built and sold businesses. But I was just like, if he can do it, I can definitely do it. And he spoke vision into me. He went up saying, "Hey man, like you should be making at least $1 million a year." And so that really, I don't know if you guys have ever had a time where someone spoke life into your vision, where they believed in you more than you believed in yourself, and then that gave you more confidence. So hopefully in this live stream, or if you're rewatching it, that I can share something with you, even though I may not know you personally. I I have I understand where you're coming from if you have this desire in your heart to be an entrepreneur. And so I want to transfer my belief in you to you, so that maybe you're finally like, yeah, I can do this. Yeah, if Tara can do it, this bum, then I can do it too. So what I figured out at that point, I was like, all right, I failed so many times. I knew that I was great at following directions. At that point, I was like, I can execute. So long story short, I was like, if someone gave me a proven business model, not another MLM or network marketing, because I'd done like 3 or 4 of those things, found out that barely anyone makes money in that. I was like, man, if there was something real legit, I feel like I could execute. I felt very confident in that. And so that led to franchising. And we saw that. I saw that sign that there was a new lot and they were looking for tenants. And one day I passed it and I was like, we can open a business, we can open a franchise there. And the rest was kind of history, right? So, I got a whole proven blueprint with it. So some of you, maybe you wind up doing a franchise, maybe you don't wind up doing a franchise. That's all good either way, right? Whether you do or you don't. Um, if you don't, if you do want to do a franchise, by the way, we have a free newsletter that you should check out. And make sure you get in your inbox, because every week we share specific franchises, resales, as well as a franchise of the week. We break down all the numbers. We dive deep into those franchises, and you may find that you look at the newsletter one day and find that there's a profitable resale being sold in your area where you could literally potentially replace your income immediately. So it's franchiseempire.com/newsletter, by the way. I'll put that at the bottom here. Um, Working with owner franchisor in College Hunks resale. Oh, cool. Nice. Awesome, man. So the blueprint, that was everything that I needed at that point. Because where I would get stuck before and overthink things, I had a system. All I had to do was follow the playbook, right? Then we opened, we got busy, got profitable in 2 months, super epic. So now, how do you go from employee to entrepreneur? How do you make this leap, right? And, and before, I have 3 main pillars to this that I'm going to share with you. The acronym I'm going to share with you is SAM. I'll tell you in a second how I found that acronym. But we have this, I wrote this a long time ago. I talk about it in my earlier YouTube videos. Let's see. Oh, I'm not sharing. Let me share differently. Share entire screen. Let's do that. That's just going to be the easier way to go about it. So this is in my earlier YouTube videos from like 3 or 4 years ago. I would give this out for free. It's no longer available publicly, but my 7-step blueprint to business profits in 60 days. And the first thing really that you'll need, this is before the 3 things that I'm going to share in the PowerPoint thing. You have to have a clear vision. In the Bible, it says what? Without a vision, the people will perish, right? If you don't know exactly what you want as an entrepreneur, exactly how much money you want to make, what you want your days to look like, what do you want to experience? If you don't know exactly what it looks like, the odds of you getting there are very slim. Think about this. Think about this analogy for a second. Okay. So let's say you're going on a vacation, you're going on a trip, right? And you go, okay, you just leave the house. You're like, we're going to go north. All right, cool. Start driving north. How do you know when you get there? How do you know when to turn? How do you know what exits to go? How do you know what streets to turn on? So When you go somewhere, you plug into your GPS or your phone and maps, right? You plug in the exact destination, the exact destination. So the first step in making the leap from employee to entrepreneur is clearly knowing what it is you want. Now, part of it is you're going to gain clarity as you take action and go along, but you have to know. I spent years writing down vision statements and what it is that I wanted, right? So you want to know, write it down in every regard that you can, right? In every way imaginable. How much money do you want to make? The type of employees you want to be working with? What vacations you would go on? Write down a vision of what your life then looks like now that you've made the leap to entrepreneurship. Whatever it is that becomes clear to you at that moment in time. This becomes a working document, right? So not only do you need to have a clear vision, you also need to have a why that is written down. I I promise you, if the only reason that you wanna become an entrepreneur is because you wanna make a shitload of money and just wanna buy cool stuff, it's not gonna the adversity is going to take you out of the game. Entrepreneurship is we posted this on social media the other day. Literally, entrepreneurship is about who can endure pain for the longest period of time. And the longer you can endure pain, the higher probability that you will be successful as an entrepreneur. I just want to tell you that that's normal and that's natural. And that's the reality of it. Some people are just better at adjusting to the pain, right? So you have to have a clear why. I think part of the reason why we were like, when, let's see, where do I want to go from here? When you know the why, you'll figure out when you're clear about your why, you will figure out the how. If you're doing this for your family to break generational bonds and to spend more time with your kids, and tapping into that why creates a resourcefulness that will lead the way for you, right? You just go in, and again, I did this early on. I was like, I just want to make a bunch of money. I want to make a bunch of money. I want to be able to sit on the beach, do what I want when I want. Nope, not working. That didn't work. So what's the first step? The first step after that. So vision, why, and then you have to have a strategy. Now you may be thinking, well, no shit. Like that sounds pretty obvious. I just have a strategy. But here's the reality is there is a right way and there is a wrong way to start a business and make money. I did the wrong way for 9 years. So I know very clearly that there is a right and a wrong way, right? Literally, there's a right way and a wrong way. Kyle said, "I love that. That is my superpower." Which part? Which part's your superpower? Um, so there is a more efficient way. So I used to travel the country speaking for Tony Robbins, and Tony used to say this thing where he would say, it doesn't matter how pumped up and motivated you are. You could be super pumped up, motivated, like I'm gonna kill this, I'm gonna start this business, I'm gonna get it done, like I'm gonna take over the world. But he goes, if it doesn't matter how pumped up or motivated you are, if you're running east looking for a sunset, you ain't gonna find it. Why? Because you got the wrong strategy. The sun sets in the west. And so again, maybe these analogies sound so simple. And so what happened is I would listen to stuff like this and I'd listen to people. I'm like, I already know that. I already know that. Knowing and doing are two different things, right? Like if you know it, but you're not getting the results, do you really know it? That's why I used to say in a bunch of my videos, knowledge isn't power. That's BS. Applied knowledge is power. And so with business and starting a business, there is a strategy out there for you specifically, you, you, that will work better than a strategy that can lead to failure. So maybe as an example, the strategy for you is that you have a specific skill set based on what you do now in your profession, and you could literally just monetize that and go do that, right? As your business. Or maybe it's you have a craft that you do or a certain talent, or ability that you just connect into that, and that's the strategy for you, right? I had the wrong strategy. Like, as an example, I was in a MLM business, multi-level marketing, right? And so that was the wrong strategy for me. Part of that business was going out there and being really aggressive about connecting with people and enrolling them, getting them to follow you and join the business and selling them. And I was an introvert and I was not very good at sales. So for me, it was just the wrong strategy overall. It just wasn't going to work. And what I learned recently is only about 1% of people actually make money from multi-level marketing. This is something I found out from a study the FTC did. I put it in a recent YouTube video we did. So it's like, oh, that's the wrong strategy. That is a business where most people don't make money. Oh, is there a business where most people do make money? There's a more efficient strategy. So we talked about the why already. And so keep in mind the strategy that you have right now doesn't need to be the strategy that you have a year from now. Here's another analogy to that, right? For me, my dream always was to do what I'm doing now. That was always a dream since I was 18 years old. I would watch these people on YouTube and they would make these videos about entrepreneurship and helping people. And I instantly knew, I was like, that's what I want to do with my life. I want to make YouTube videos. I want to help people. I want to help inspire people. I want to help encourage people. Man, I get emotional just think like it just really hit me for a moment. I literally remember just sitting in my parents' room, like that being the dream. And so I knew very clearly that was what I wanted, right? But that strategy of getting there, like whatever I was doing, it wasn't working. And so franchising was my strategy to learn how to run a business and to get my first business under my belt. So I just want to give you permission to know that you may really want to do this thing out here, right? But you might have to do this thing first in order to as a stepping stone to get to the business. So your first business, maybe your strategy is your first business, you don't actually even really enjoy that much. But you know that your likelihood of success and your probability is super high, right? So be okay with that. But you want to choose your first strategy, you want to choose the low-hanging fruit. You want to choose the low-hanging fruit, right? Like what is around you now that you can take advantage of? Kyle said his superpower is delayed gratification, hanging on lower than the competition. 100%. 100%. That's incredible. That'll take you super far. So basically, when it comes to strategy, you have three different ways you can do it. You can start a business, number one. You can buy a business, you can buy a franchise or resale. So the question is more so about like what's the best strategy for you? And I've talked about this a lot before, but if you're someone who's super analytical and overthinks things and doubts yourself and is always second guessing, then you should go with an established business or franchise and probably a franchise because if you try to start a business, you're going to constantly be second guessing what to do the entire time. That was one of the things that I struggled with, right? If you're someone who is a rebel and you're great at figuring things out on your own, then maybe you should start a business. But you have to choose one. Figure out the kind of pros and cons and then choose one and choose one quickly. The other part of the strategy is you need to then figure out this is a tactical thing. What is your take the leap number or date? You have to have a clear trigger of going from what takes you from employee to what takes you to entrepreneur. So for me, I had estimated because I was making a good amount of money at the time as a financial advisor, I figured I really only needed about 60% of my income. So I was like, okay, if I could replace 60% of my income while still holding a job, while still having my full-time job, I will make the leap. And then I feel confident that in all of that time that now opened up, that 40 hours a week that I was working as an employee, I could reinvest that time and I could figure out a way to get to 100% replacement of my income. I didn't know how long it would take, but that was the what I had in my mind. So for you, the question is, you may, I don't know, you may make 100 grand, 150 grand. If that's what you, if you don't need that to live off of, and all you actually need is 75 grand, then maybe you go, okay, as soon as I can figure out a way to make 75 grand a year, I'm out. And then knowing that, okay, great. Now that I have my 40 hours of time back and I was able to do that part time, now I double down and then you can take yourself from 75 to 50. The other way to do it is just go, I'm going to give myself until this date. I've heard entrepreneurs do that where they go, I'm going to give myself a year to get this business up and running. If I can't hit blah, blah, blah in a year, or if it's not working in a year, I'll go back and get a job. I recently talked to a franchisor who did this. She had opened her business, and when she was opening her, she left like a high powered. She went to Harvard, and she had a high powered finance job and left the job. She's like, oh, I'll give myself, a year basically, and it worked out. And then it worked out. She became successful, built a multi-million-dollar business, and then wind up franchising her business. So have a tangible number. So you have a trigger. Because here's the consequence. If you don't have a trigger, here's what happens. You wake up, it's 5 years later, and nothing's changed. You wake up, it's 3 years later, nothing's changed. Right? It's funny because we have a lab, we have a dog, Buddy. He's like a lab pit mix. And when we were living in California, we had this giant pool. And Buddy wouldn't like really go in the pool. I'm like, man, he's part lab. Labs love to swim. Why would he not? Why is he not going in the pool? And what's funny is my buddy, the one from this picture, him, Skylar, one day he was over at the house and he just shoved Buddy in the pool. You may think that sounds kind of mean. He just pushed Buddy in the pool. And Buddy freaked out for a second, and then he started doggy paddling. And then ever since then, Buddy would just boom and jump in the pool and love swimming. And so sometimes the best thing you can do is to just jump. There's that phrase that you jump and trust that the parachute will open, right? It's someone else. I saw something the other day is entrepreneurship is taking jumping off a cliff and building a plane on the way down, which I think is pretty funny. When you start a business from scratch, that's definitely a lot how it is. So that's strategy, right? The second thing is action. So we're at SAM, right? SAM is actions. Is that when I would start the businesses before, I would like dabble. I would kind of do some stuff here or there. I'd try to do this. I started the clothing line. I took like some, like kind of got out there to figure out places to sell the shirts, but like I was in my head so much. And so what happens is when you're making leap from employee to entrepreneur, you got to get in the mindset of I'm going to take a absurdly massive amount of action and consistent action, because momentum is everything in business. And so if you work on your business this week and then a week later you're working on it again and you haven't worked on it week to week, you're going to fail. It's not going to work. Like you have to be going hard. This is why people who try to buy franchises, we talk to people all the time. They're like, "How long have you been looking to buy a franchise?" On and off for like 3 years. What? On and off for like 3 years? Why? It doesn't take 3 years to, find a franchise or to launch a business. If you take massive and consistent action, our average is that people sign a franchise agreement in like around 90 days, 90 to 100 days when you have a process and plan. But you have to outwork everyone when you're starting a business. What's that analogy that when a plane takes off or a rocket takes off, it uses like 70 or 80% of its fuel just in taking off? That's kind of how entrepreneurship is, right? And so whatever business you're starting, if let's say you're handing out flyers and you're putting flyers on people's cars, you may be like, I'll put out 100 flyers. I put out 100 flyers this weekend. Like I should probably get a couple of customers. But realistically, it would be like you need to put out 100 flyers a day, if not more than that. So it has to be absurdly massive and consistent action. Part of how I learned this, couple things, couple analogies here. I used to wrestle. That was my sport growing up. The summer between my junior and sophomore year, I wrestled 106 matches, which was the equivalent of 2 wrestling seasons in high school. So talk about massive and consistent action. And the year before that, I was about a 500 wrestler. I'd be like 25 wins, 25 losses for 2 years straight, freshman and sophomore year. Junior year, I came out, wrestled 106 matches in the offseason, massive, consistent action. The next year, I started out the season 24-0 before I had my first loss in overtime, and then 24-1. Massive and consistent action. Whoever takes the most action will often win. What's funny is you may see people who are successful business owners. Here's what I found. The most successful business owners that I personally know and I've talked to, they work an absurd amount. They work so much more than you think they do. And I was like, oh, they make it look easy on the outside, but it doesn't. If you guys knew how much time I put in my business now, into this whole online business, it's absurd. It really is. I mean, it's only 5:30. It's not that late. But I was at my computer at 5:30 a.m. working this morning. So you got to whoever takes the most action will win. If you have a competitor and they're selling the same shit as you, but they're working 3-4 hours more a day and they're executing more, they're doing more jobs or more estimates or talking to more prospects, they're going to win. So if you just get in the mindset of like, I'm going to do 2 to 3 times more than I think it will take. I did this with creating a YouTube following. 3 or 4 years ago, whatever the time period was. Yeah, it was around about 4 years ago now. There was a point where I was like, I don't want to make any more videos about franchising and like, should you buy a franchise and things that you should know. I was sick and tired of talking about franchising. But I was like, I researched every keyword. I'm like, I am going to dominate when anyone searches for the word franchise in YouTube. That's got to be your mindset. So I was writing scripts for the videos, staying up until late editing videos. I hated it. It sucked. But my mindset was like, I'm going to take more action than no one's going to make more videos on me than franchising. No one. I'm going to make so many that I'm going to drown out everyone else. That's one of the things that happens. So that's your mindset when you're starting your business. And so what happens is if your success rate is low in whatever the business is that you're starting, because at the end of the day, and we're going to talk about this in a second, when you're starting your business, sales and marketing is everything. 80% of your time should be focused on sales and marketing because you could have the best product, you could have the best service, but if you don't have a ton of customers and money coming in, it doesn't matter. People who win in business are the ones who master sales and marketing. Took me a long time to figure this out. I took so much pride in being the best, being a perfectionist. And then I started to learn from people that were way more successful than me, that were all over the place and their businesses were a bit of a shit show, that, oh, wow, they just are really great at sales and marketing. So what happens is, let's say that you, in your business that you're starting, that you have to talk to, let's say you talk to 10 prospective clients and you only sell one of them. One of them becomes a client, right? That's a 10%, let's call it close rate. That's, depending upon the business, that's probably sucks. It's probably not very good, right? So you may find that your competitors, their average close rate is 30% or 40%. And so until you build up your skill set, you just have to put in more volume. You have to talk to more people, right? So whereas they only need to talk to 10 people to get 3 customers, you may need to talk to 30. And that's okay. You focus on getting your skill set better, but in the meantime, like, you still got to get the results. So you have to increase your volume. Whatever the activity is that generates sales and revenue, increase that volume. I'm coaching a franchisee right now, a franchise owner, and we have dialed in her whole plan. So her goal is she wants to get to $50,000 a month in sales in her business by September. So we worked together. We learned all of her conversion rates in her business, and I just broke down the numbers for her. So it's like, look, out of they have a 30% lead to prospect rate, meaning someone becoming a lead and then spending money in the business 30%. And then she's in a business where it's recurring, where it has a membership and it's like recurring revenue. So out of those prospects that then spend money, about 60% of them will become a member and on recurring revenue. And so we're looking at the numbers, breaking it down and looking at how much money she's spending in advertising. And it was pretty simple. You're not spending enough money. Like it becomes a simple equation. So I think she was spending $1,500 a month in advertising. And so we broke it down at what her cost per lead was and then the conversion. It was like, hey, you need 200 leads a month. In order to get 200 leads a month, you need to spend $3,500 a month in marketing. So you're not even giving yourself an opportunity. You're wanting to hit this goal, but literally your volume is not enough. You're not putting in enough money to get the result you want. But that's a strategy thing, right? For those of you just joining, we talked about the first step with strategy. There's a right way and wrong way to do it. If as an entrepreneur, you're starting and you don't know your conversion numbers like the back of your hand, you're going to lose. Right on my whiteboard here, I have all of our conversion numbers. I know that for every lead, we will book about 20% as an appointment. And then so and I have it all broken down into like percentage of show rate, how many people will no show, what it all looks like. We know our numbers. So you have to know your numbers as an entrepreneur so then you can execute more than the other person. Is this all making sense? Hopefully this is valuable and this makes sense for you. Now, if your success rate is low overall and your conversion rate is low in getting clients or conversions or whatever it is, now you got to you got to go back to the strategy part and work on your skill set to get the conversion rate higher. But in the meantime, you just got to hustle. It is what it is. You got to go. And you have to have this sense of urgency. The number one thing that will crush you in going from employee to entrepreneur and starting your successful business, whether it's a franchise, whether it's you starting your own business from scratch, the number one thing that will destroy you is procrastination, and indecision. This is why when I talk to people who are like, I don't know. And I get it at one hand because I used to be an overthinker and I know what that mindset's like. But if you do that in business, you will get destroyed because there's a competitor that's executing that already. It took you a week to make a decision. Your competitor decided a week ago, and now they have a week more momentum, and they're way far ahead of you, and they're going. You may never catch them. So you have to have this constant sense of urgency, like your butt is on fire to get clients because you will probably suck in the beginning. And whatever it is, the business that you're doing, you will probably suck unless it's something that you already have experience in. Like that was the work that you were doing previously. If that's the case, you may be good right away. Right. And so I talked about sales and marketing. When you start a business, 80% of your time and energy should be involved in sales and marketing. And you just need to get good at it. And that's number two. Emmanuel, thank you. Watching from Brooklyn, New York. Love what you're doing for the space. So much great info, great motivation. Awesome. Appreciate it. I love it. This is what I love right here. Just like delivering information and the feedback is helpful. I appreciate the feedback. I don't know if you guys know how awkward it can be. I'm used to it now after years of it, but like I'm just talking to the screen. I can see myself in my PowerPoint. That's it. Like I can't see you, and so to maintain the state and this energy level and be this fired up, it's not the easiest thing in the world. So comments like that of like, hey, yeah, I'm learning a lot. This is helpful. If you want to drop comments like that, super helpful for me. Gets me amped, gets me pumped up, makes me want to deliver even more value. And by the way, just remember, for those of you who do want to make the leap from employee to entrepreneur, go subscribe to our newsletter that we send out every week of franchise opportunities. It's completely free. Every week, we're going to send you specific franchises in your inbox, resales. Whoa, where's the camera? Okay. Resales and new ones. We're going to send it to you in your inbox every single week. So go to franchiseempire.com/newsletter and boom, it'll hit your inbox every week. Opportunities where you can see exactly how much money people are making, how long they've been in business, etc. All right, so let's get to the last part. So remember, I told you about the acronym SAM, S-A-M. So we talked about strategy. You have to have the right strategy. There is a wrong strategy. There is a right strategy. There are levels of Kyle, thanks, man. He said you're a duck on water, baby. That's hilarious. So here's the thing. There are this is something going to sound weird. There are shades of gray, right? So it's not just black and white in terms of strategy. There's also shades of strategy that work a little bit more effectively than others. So your job will always be, how can I learn that one distinction that will work and be effective? So if you need to get better at sales to generate more revenue for your new business, there is a strategy to selling. Like there is a way to get people to say yes more often than no. There's a strategy to it. So you have to go out and learn the strategy. If you don't have the strategy, or if you suck at the strategy, you have to learn it. I've invested, my goodness, 100 grand over the past 15 years in seminars, programs, coaches, books, all learning strategies, right? So you have to learn the strategy. Then you got to take massive action, right? You have to outwork everyone else. You have to outwork your competition. The last part is your mindset. You must create and adopt the mindset that you are unstoppable. Why? And what does that even mean? Like, okay, cool. That sounds awesome, Tarek. That's very clear and specific. Well, here's what's going to happen. What happens when obstacles occur? Because here's what's going to happen. You're going to try a strategy and it may not work the first time. This is why when I worked for Tony Robbins, and he would say, your success in anything is 80% is 20% strategy and 80% mindset. Why? Why? Does that make sense? I just talked about how important strategy is. Why would success in business be 80% about your psychology and your mindset, and only 20% is strategy? How does that even make sense? Here's how. Because if you have a weak mindset in psychology, meaning you're someone who quits, you give up when things get hard, you don't believe in yourself, you doubt it'll work for you, you procrastinate all the time, you're indecisive. That's a weak mindset. The good news is you can improve it. Your mindset is like a muscle. You can strengthen it. It's gonna take some time, but you can strengthen it. What happens is you can have the perfect strategy. Like you're like, boom, I got the strategy. But then you don't do it. You don't actually execute on it, or you don't follow through, or you half-ass it, or when it doesn't work the first time, you stop. Have you ever had a time where, like, if you click on something and it doesn't work the first time, or like, man, what's the analogy? I've had it happen so many times where it's like you try it the first time, you press a button or try to turn something on, and you're like, oh, it's weird, it didn't work. And then literally you do it again, and for whatever reason, it works the second time. You're like, oh, that was weird. Why didn't it work the first time? You know how many people press it and go, oh, it didn't work, and walk away? And like, I'll do it another time. If you can just become that person that develops the mindset that I am freaking unstoppable, whether it's going over, underneath, through, around, I will find a way. I will find a way. No matter what, I will figure this shit out. It's having that mindset that when your strategy doesn't work, that's why success in business is 80% mindset and psychology. Because if you have the strong mindset and psychology, it doesn't matter if the first strategy didn't work. You will keep going until you figure out the strategy. Like there's I've seen people all the time where it's like the answer is right in front of you. It's right in front of you, you just didn't do it. Or I gave you the answer, why didn't you execute? Or you waited 2 weeks. What happened? It's a mindset thing. We have an individual that started working with our team, and our team presented franchise brands to him, and he didn't want to be introduced to the brands. He's like, I don't know if I can do it. He didn't believe in himself. Like, you already lost. I told my team, I'm like, don't push anything. That's it. Because then I get worried. That person then goes out and starts the business, and then with a weak mindset like that fails. They don't fail because the franchise was bad. They don't fail because the franchise didn't work. They fail because they have a weak mindset. That's the hidden thing that franchisors can't really say bluntly, is that a lot of people, or people that will fail, or that underperforming franchisees, assuming it's a good system, they'll fail because of their mindset. This is part of this happened to me too. It almost happened at my second store. I got lazy. And I got cocky because everything went so smoothly at our first store and we were crushing it. And I got lazy. I started staying at home smoking cigars during the day. I'd go play golf. Lazy mindset kicked in. What happened? Things started to go south. Then my mindset had to kick in. Sweet. All of a sudden I'm working 12-hour days. Like, all right, we're not letting this bad boy fail. So the question for you is like, what happened when you don't want to give up? What happens when you had 9 failed businesses, right? Maybe you're watching right now. You're like, I've tried so many side hustles. I've bought so many programs. I've looked at so many franchises. Cool. So you're going to give up? That's it? You're done? Is that where you're going to tell your kids 10 years from now when they go, Mommy, Daddy, why didn't you follow your dream of being an entrepreneur? Oh, it's because I quit. It's because I gave up. Imagine how that would feel. Because the most powerful thing that you can do is allow yourself to feel whatever pain and frustration that's in your current situation that you want to change. And we'll wrap on this, is that pain is the most powerful motivator that you could ever have to go from employee to entrepreneur. Feeling the frustration of like, I am not happy right now, or I am not living up to my potential. Allowing yourself to feel that is what will drive you to change. What happens is we constantly numb ourselves and try to we don't want to feel bad, right? So we're like, it's not that bad. You know, I hate my job, but it's okay. I'm making good money. We want to make ourselves feel better. And then when you make yourself feel better, it eliminates that wedge that forces you to do something about it. Right? So hopefully this was helpful. When you allow yourself to feel that pain and that frustration, that's what's going to be the difference maker in helping you make that leap. So remember, number 1, strategy. You need to have the right strategy. Number 2 is take massive, consistent action. And number 3 is you got to work on having an unstoppable mindset, because it will be the hardest thing that you've ever done in your life. You will probably fail forward, and that's okay. That's perfectly fine, right? So, yeah, Sherry said so true. So, let me know if you guys enjoyed this, by the way. This is like different than my normal style of stuff that I do, of just like talking about specific franchises and strategies, but this is like, if I could do these every day, this is what I love. This is what lights me up. But it's just a perfect example that, like, it's not always about doing, most of the time in business, and this is why when people say that they want to do a business that they're passionate about, it's a myth. I personally think it's BS, because even in a business that you're passionate about, 70 or 80% of the stuff that you'll have to do sucks. It's like admin stuff, it's like hiring and firing, it's it's doing the stuff that's not fun. Doing the stuff that's not fun. That's what creates the success. And that's how you make the leap from employee to entrepreneur. Awesome. Thanks so much for tuning in. Don't forget to go to franchiseempire.com/newsletter and join our free newsletter so you can get franchises in your inbox every week. If you enjoyed this, share this with someone that you think can benefit. Adios, guys. Take care.